My name is Zaniah Fae. I am a dancer, choreographer, movement director, or whatever creative bits and bobs from New Zealand. Aotearoa represent.
Welcome to Studio Sessions, a video series for creative performers. Each week we go behind the scenes on the shoots and sit down with guests to discuss their careers, the creative industry, and share the lessons they've learned along the way.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How's your day been today?
Fab. Just had the most delicious shoot ever. And apart from that, this was like my last thing this week, to be honest. So I feel like
You've achieved something.
I feel like,
today.
I feel great. I feel like I've just done the most.
And from New Zealand, at what age was it you started dancing?
So I did like recreational dance for like my childhood, but actually we were like a sports family. So I didn't start properly training dance till I was about 15, which is like quite a late start for like when you think about like the scope of training. But yeah, came into like really committed to like dance and decided that's what I wanted to do probably when I was around 15, 16. And then my like dance journey really started from that point. And then before that, the training was definitely great, but again, very recreational and not like, wasn't something that I was ever really taking seriously. It was kind of just like another form of like netball, swimming, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And what was it about dance that you thought that's the thing that I want to do?
I think the creative aspect of dance is what made me decide in the end to kind of like fully commit, just because like in high-end sports, like we're like quite a successful sporting family. And so even though physically you get the same rush as dance, like you're really exerting yourself, the repetition that's required for sports like that, like swimming, the 5 a.m. and then like seeing the bottom of the pool every day, like it's great, always trying to top yourself, but I was never fulfilled by like the repetition. I prefer like still working really hard, but then having new things to do, like having a season of a show and then wrapping it up and then starting something fresh. And so I don't think my brain is built for repetition. I think it likes to have like a few different things going on.
Yeah, I feel like it's really important to understand how your own brain works.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's one thing that I've really kind of learned over the years of like, I'll go and do this because I feel like that's the thing I should do and that's the thing I'm good at. But then you do it and you're like, my brain's not used to doing this.
Yeah, or you're not getting that same fulfillment, or like it doesn't give you like that tick or the satisfaction, I suppose, of like, oh yeah, I've done this thing and I really enjoyed it and like X, Y, and Z, instead of like, oh, I did it, but like that's it, it kind of finishes there. Or like you can still be your personal best, but if it doesn't like make you tick, then eventually that will peter out. And so that did happen for me around like 15. Prior to that, I was like a competitive swimmer, and we were like a surf life-saving family, so very beachy, very like it's very Kiwiana. And then once I decided, like the dance kind of took off, and you get to that junction in your teens where you're like, okay, like what's it gonna be? You can't have it all. You need to kind of commit to one thing in order to perform at a high level again. And so I chose dance, and the rest of my family kind of stayed with the sport, but it still worked out great, and I had a great time. Like definitely probably a harder start choosing to commit at like a slightly older age. Like 15 is obviously not old, but when people that you're with, or when the company members that you're with have been training since like birth, there's obviously like a gap to fill, or there's knowledge that maybe you don't have yet. And so I kind of spent like my late teens trying to fill the gaps, or trying to get access to knowledge that I didn't already have. And that was kind of through like full-time training and just classes and company work.
And how does it feel being someone who maybe wasn't technically the best, because there had been people who've been doing it for years?
It's very intimidating, to be honest. Like it doesn't feel fabulous, like coming into the room and being like, everyone can do these 3 things and I can do none of them. So it's humbling for sure, but I think that's good, especially at a young age. Like the teenage brain can get very like egotistical quickly, and I live for drama, so I feel like I definitely needed that at 15. But yeah, it definitely made me want to work harder. Like I had people in the room to like aspire to be on that level of whatever it was at the time, like whether that's technique or people that I really enjoyed, like their performance quality. Like I had so many great examples of people who had a higher skill level than me, and that really made me work harder so I could reach that in those other genres. And then like I still had strengths, more of a street style is where I kind of started. So those were always my strengths, but then again, like everything else was very new to me. And so that was where I kind of got to not necessarily play, but like really put my head down and like get into it. But I found that enjoyable, even though it definitely had its challenges. Like the first time you put on the ballet shoes and the pink tights, like doesn't feel great, but you get into it and you find the aspects of that even though personally for me that was never going to be like the avenue I chose, there are so many great qualities from those genres that I can then pull into what has now become like my movement or like my work, or even just get inspiration from like just random sequences or the way the classes run. Like there was so many things for me to kind of soak up in those younger years, even though I was definitely not like topping my class in any capacity. Yeah.
And you mentioned like your movement there. How would you define your style and the kind of like vision you kind of built around yourself?
Yeah, I suppose my style is, I guess the word we're using at the moment is commercial. I don't know if that's like something I resonate with as deeply at the moment, but at face value, it's definitely that. Again, like I said earlier, my background is definitely like street. So there's a lot of like whacking influence. There's a lot of like generating. It's quite powerful, I suppose, but that power comes from like having done the street styles, done the foundations, and being really used to generating like my movement from the floor. Like I'm very grounded, and then that's what I enjoy. But then in my later years, once I did start to get jazz training and like it kind of opened myself to different genres, that's when I was really inspired by line work and shapes. And so I feel like they've all kind of combined into like this choreographic language that I really enjoy and that I teach weekly. And yeah, that's what really like makes me sing at the moment. I really love like the creative aspect of putting it together, but then also there's that like training it. There's so many like possibilities to kind of take all of that like creative goodness. And so at the moment, I definitely say it's like a commercial grounded, it's got the street fusion, but also can vary week to week depending on like what kind of training I've been doing outside of my own creative practice. So yeah, but again, very fluctuated, but that's what I enjoy about it.
I suppose that's the fun of creativity is you can take inspiration from anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even that diva over there, you can't see her, but she's in the room with us. I mean, I have so many friends that inspire me and also love dancing with my friends. So I've been in London, I think, for like just over a year now, but already have such a great network of people who I enjoy learning off of, who inspire me. And then even though, again, might not be what I would consider my strength, like there's so many things to pull every week just from like whatever someone else is doing, or maybe like I discover new artists, which leads me to a new song, and then this, and then it all kind of just like unravels into this like never ending creative journey, which again can be quite overwhelming. But I think once you have a good sense of yourself and what it is as an artist that you enjoy, or things that I know draw me in, it becomes quite enjoyable. And then you have that freedom and the play to kind of pick and choose like what it is that you want to pursue further.
And how do you find focus? Because obviously you couldn't go anywhere without it. Like how do you kind of pinpoint, okay, this is the route that I want to take with my work?
I think if I'm thinking and just wanting to start like a fresh work or a fresh choreography, I always start, music's always first for me. It's normally like a vision, like before you even move your body, you're hearing a track and that leads to like some sort of vision or like a feeling or just an overall vibe. And then from there, that's normally when I get in the studio, or some weeks I'm just in the kitchen. I love dancing in the kitchen and then just starting to flesh things out. But yeah, music's always first. And I think that kind of goes back to my like original training, because I feel like a lot of street styles is always music first. It's always listening first before any moving happens, because you're trying to become the visualization of what you hear. And so yeah, musicality is also like a really big thing for me. I love it, but also it's so vast in like what choices you can make and what you choose to move to, and like it's like this whole what is even the word? It's like a whole just like never ending void of choices to be made. So as an artist, like I think the joy is like you're picking and choosing, but the focus comes from like the feeling you get or what excites you the most. Like I normally just follow like what makes me excited or what makes me like, oh, like that was fab, like let's do that again.
Love. So going on to the shoot from today, what was your first look and what made you bring that?
Yeah, my first look, I went with the classic black suit. It's actually been a minute since I updated anything in my portfolio. Like my last year was more like breaking into the community and finding the spaces I like, and so it kind of was just in the back of my brain, like updating anything. And this year I was like, oh wait, this is a thing. So came in with the classic suit, love a good suit, makes me feel good. I felt such a strong shape. And also like, we laid it just with like a chain, like it was very simple.
I feel like that little gold chain made such a difference. It was just like that little bit that just kind of elevated it from being like just a suit into like, oh, this is like a considered look.
Yeah, I suppose like I've shot in a few suits before, so that's how I knew I wanted to do another one, just because like it always feels like a good extension of myself, even though like you're not going to catch me in class with a blazer, but it feels like as an artist, that's kind of like the vibe I give off in like a less serious way. And then layering it with chains and bits and bobs, it kind of just brings it more into, I suppose, like my vibe and energy, which I love. But yeah, nothing, you can't go wrong with a suit, you know what I mean? Like, love a good suit.
Yeah, I feel like it's a good staple, isn't it? It's like a good classic look that in 10, 20 years time, people will still be wearing suits.
Yeah, someone's always going to ask you to bring either one or the other for whatever random performance. Like you're always going to need it and wear it, like in Muggle life and also like in a performance space. I feel like she's so versatile. So yeah, love it.
So you kind of mentioned earlier about kind of like moving to London and kind of building a kind of a close friendship group. What did that look like? So I can imagine a lot of people moving to a new city, not knowing anyone, being quite an intimidating kind of lonely experience at the start. How did you build that kind of friendships and connections around you?
Sure, yeah. I suppose when I first moved, it's quite intimidating, London, especially like London is such a big city, and my pathway originally was Wellington to Sydney, which Sydney is roughly, it's bigger, but it's similar vibes. And so the transition from Sydney to London is like X a million. And so I suppose what is the most overwhelming aspect is the access to training that you get, because I was so used to having maybe like one or two classes available to me as a professional dancer, whereas now here in London, you could probably take any genre, any time of the day, every single day of the week. So it is overwhelming, but also like that's kind of what drew me here. Like it's really exciting. It's also like so refreshing to have access to, again, so much new information and so many other communities. And so my first 3 months, I kind of like put myself through a mini full-time or a mini college experience again, because I would kind of just take like 7 classes a week or like as many classes as I could. And it's really just about figuring out what spaces you enjoy, what teaching styles you enjoy, what it is about those that you enjoy and where you can kind of find, or talking to those teachers afterwards and then kind of getting more recommendations. So it was a very big like overflow, and also kind of getting a sense for if I was going to transition into the scene as a teacher, like what spaces I was really drawn to. So it was a lot of experimenting, but then I eventually found the niches that I really enjoyed. And that's where I made and met all of my close friends currently, which was really nice because it's a super organic way of networking, but it wasn't really networking because we're all just there like with the same common interest. Yeah. And then it wasn't instant, like I actually, again, didn't speak to this diva over here, not off screen again, for weeks. But we were always in the same space. And then eventually you turn around like in the middle of a break and go, hey, like, by the way, like I see you all the time. My name is, and then it kind of blossomed into this huge, beautiful network of friends. And then from there, like things just keep going. So yeah, it was a lot of talking, trying, experimenting. I found a lot of things that I enjoyed, but I also found many things that I didn't enjoy. And that's because of the way I prefer to train. I love a disciplined room. I love a room that has a bit of tension, because that's how I know like I'm ready, I'm here to train. Like I love a good focus. And then when I'm looking to mix it up, I'll go into a space that's probably a little more free, a little bit more freestyle based. And then again, really nice. But I know for my goals and for the style I prefer, I'm looking for those rooms that are really structured and really disciplined, and I've definitely found that now. And again, it's only an asset to like whatever else I do in the city.
Let's move on to the second look from today. What was that and what made you bring that?
My second look was a little double denim moment. Love her. I was giving very, not off-brand, but it was giving a little bit more approachable.
It's a lot softer.
It was softer. The words were soft and effortless, and we really did well with that. But yeah, it went great. I love it. It's like got a nice warm vibe to it. And then also, again, seeing myself in like that different aura was great. And yeah, very a little bit Calvin Klein, a little bit Girl Next Door. It's not too far away from my own personal style, but again, it's nice to have that representation of like a slightly softer side, a more chill version, not always rah, claws out, love a good claw, ASMR, love a good claw moment, but not always putting my focus there. And so, yeah, I thought it was really successful and it was great.
Yeah, I feel like it's a really nice balance, especially compared to some of the other looks of like the softer side of you, because it's like you're not like the person you might be in class all the time.
Exactly,
100%. It's a really nice way to try and show your different elements of personality, and I feel like all of us, no matter the different rooms we're in, we're still the same person, but we're going to act in different ways and kind of portray ourselves in different ways.
Yeah, I'm definitely a lot more everything in a class or in a dance environment, and then as soon as that class is finished, people are often really surprised to find me go, because I feel like the energy is really contained to those 2 hours, 90 minutes, and then after that I really mellow out. I'm actually not that rah in real life, and so, but that's again part of performing and dancing, and there's that whole other side to you, and so that denim look really tied into like the more chill version. Loved it.
On that note, how do you find balance in life, like between those two?
My God, balance in life. How do I find balance in life? I think it's really important. Even when I was training, a lot of industry professionals always spoke on having things like fully outside of dance that you also find joy in. I suppose when you're so invested and committed to your career as a performer, it's really easy to tie your self-worth and tie like everything. Like really, it's really easy to put everything into this one area, and then kind of when those things don't maybe pan out the way you expected, have this whole crash of like, everything's turned to shit, my la 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 la, and then really get down. And so a way to find balance is to have those like fully removed outside activities that you enjoy. For me, it's reading. What sounds lame. I love to read, girls, and not just like a real read, not just like a read to other people, like a book. Yeah, I love to read. It's like escapism at its finest. So I'll be reading or honestly just chilling. Like I think it's really important to turn your brain off, like especially you're surrounded by music and noise and color and inspiration all the time, so it's really important just to actually chill and do nothing for a minute, just to kind of have that reset, and then that will allow you to start new creative processes, because once you start to obsess and once things start to like kind of drag out, can be quite draining. Obviously, like phone is another thing, right? The Instagram culture and TikTok culture, it's really easy to get swept up into all of that, and so being able to remove yourself fully and find joy in other aspects of your life or other people, relationships and friendships or whatever it is, it's really necessary just for yourself and for your own health, just to be able to do that reset.
Love that. And you mentioned your creative process there. What is your creative process when it comes to choreographing a piece?
Depends on the brief. I feel like if we're talking like a full group number extravaganza situation, then it becomes a little bit mathematical, and maybe it starts with the formations, or maybe it's more of a vision of what kind of stage are we working with, what kind of camera are we filming on, what's the feeling we're trying to capture, and then kind of going from there. And then if it's more of a class environment, again, normally music, sometimes it comes in a dream. It doesn't really come in dreams anymore. The frequency is too high. But always music first. But I think the way that music finds you can be quite different, whether that's like a recommendation or you hear it in when you're out in a cafe. I mean, a lot of times I'm not necessarily like a current music girly. Like I love my 90s, I love my 2000s, even my 2010s. And so for me, I have my Spotify like songs, but they don't get updated very often. And so for me, I'm normally out and about. I'm like, oh my God, I forgot about this song. Like, do you know what? It needs to happen in class. And then that's how I've had so many, I Like That, Static Revenger. Love that song, forgot about it completely, came back and I was like, and then that was actually one of my favorite pieces of like all of last year, and I taught it like in a few different countries, and it like was really joyful, but like what a happy surprise that song like kind of found me again and I wasn't searching for it.
I suppose that's like a really nice part about music, is it's so almost like so tied into your life. Like that could be a song that played from when I was like 15 that I've not heard since then, and the nostalgia and rush that you'll get from like feeling that.
Yeah,
I feel like any way, I suppose just as a creative in general, any way you can find excitement in anything, it's like a really nice way to inspire what you do.
Yeah, it's like tied to those really exciting core memories and you're like, oh my God, or maybe it like reminds you of something else. Or there's, I suppose music and eras, like it's tied to different sections of our lives. And so I feel like you might not be looking for it, but once you get that like this, and then it leads you to that, and then all of a sudden you re-listen to all of this old music that you haven't listened to in like a decade, and you get that really like, oh my God, like I remember when the song came out and how I felt. And then normally for me, like that's when like really great pieces come together, or I am the most excited to create, and therefore like the creative process is really easy and like joyful, and then yeah, it becomes like a whole thing. And then weeks where I'm less inspired and I'm searching for music, I find that process is a lot slower because I'm actively looking for something to create to, which is a little bit more pressure because obviously you're trying to make a choice that still inspires you, but is going to serve your class audience or try and bring new people in. Like it's constantly this like revolving door, Tate McRae, of trying to keep yourself satisfied as a creative and then serve the people you know are coming to class, but then also what would be a great way to bring new people in, or you know, get other people inspired to come and like give this a go. So it really does mash into one. But yeah.
Love that. So moving on to the third look from today, what was that? What made you bring that?
Third look was this red fur. Hey, shout out to Jaded London. You can send me more things. I'll take them. Yeah, red fur. And then we had like a black wide leg with a corset top and a little bodysuit. And this was like what I probably was one of the looks I was most excited to shoot, just because my old photos, which is really funny, bless those photos, I was wearing a red hat, which is super ironic because I don't ever wear hats. Like I've not worn a hat since that shoot, and it's been like almost 2 years, and my friends tell me that all the time. So that was really exciting. It felt like a good way to kind of remix that look. Bless her, let her move on, rest in peace. It was a really good way to kind of like a similar color palette but an updated feel. Definitely how I would do it like in the current times and not a couple years ago, which doesn't sound like long, but I suppose being now how old was I then, maybe early 20s, like 21, 22, and now being like 25, it does feel like quite a big jump to making my career, and I feel differently and I would make different choices. So yeah, it felt like still that really exaggerated, like a little bit camp, a little bit this and that, but also like a lot more comfortable in terms of I'd actually wear this. And like this does feel like a good representation of me.
Yeah, I feel like if I was to style you without seeing any of your clothes, this is the kind of thing that I'd have picked.
Okay, that's what we wanted.
It hits the brand.
Yeah.
How have you kind of developed your brand as a performer kind of visually?
Oh, that's a great question. I suppose the development of my brand started like with the start of my dance journey in New Zealand. Like I very quickly again became friends with a lot of older dancers, and then was taken under the wing of a good friend of mine who was a drag queen at the time. And so she really taught me like the breakdown of looks. Obviously it's judgmental with love, and so that's where I learned and was probably humbled aggressively on like this and these rules, and what that would have been like 2016. So the eyebrows were blocked but the face was cut with a contour and this and that, and the highlight was 5 layers deep. And then from there, like that was my starting block, a very strong starting block, and then has since evolved into kind of like where I am today. But I remember learning, that's kind of where I learned like fashion and looks, and also construction. I spent a long time like sewing things, building things, rhinestoning, and so that was where I got a lot of inspiration from. And then from there, I suppose that those elements of drag, or those elements of like really camp looks and strong shapes and silhouettes and like certain makeups, has kind of translated throughout my life into this version of me as a performer.
And how important do you think it is to have a brand as a performer?
I think it's probably like second to your talent. I think that's a priority, like talent first and your craft first and your actual ability. And then after that, it's important to have a brand. It doesn't need to be anything crazy, but I think it's important for performers to be identifiable by, maybe it's a look, or maybe it's an energy, or a certain kind of fashion, just because we are in a world where there are so many of us. And so while uniformity is great, and there are some jobs where we do want everyone to look the same, I think where people really shine the most and where work really becomes something magical is when a group of very different people come together, but then still there's this like amazing uniformity through movement or through talent. And so I think it's great for performers to have really strong brands, or again, brands that people are able to identify with or become familiar quick, just so that I suppose castability, people remember you, or you're in the forefront of people's minds, or there might be a certain vibe or energy or artist that comes up and you might be a great match for them just because of your branding. It's not even necessarily how good you are in the room. It might just be you have the perfect look for this, or your branding really aligns with this artist and we boom, come over straight away kind of a thing. So yeah, second to talent, I think branding is the most important.
And if you were a young performer now, what would your advice be to them to help build their brand?
I think as a young performer, starting to build your brand is important, but I don't think that's something to be rushed. I think as you develop as an artist, that's when you can start to layer your branding. I think it's a mistake to come in and brand yourself really quickly, because once you become older, once you progress in your training, you might not feel that way the same way. You might not feel that way anymore. That's better English. And then now you're stuck with this brand that doesn't suit you anymore. I suppose like we see it a lot with like Disney Channel stars, like they get these really like firm brands that stay with them forever. And then once they try and branch off as artists or change the direction of their creative journey, it's really difficult, or they find a lot of friction because people know them as a certain way. So I think for younger performers and younger artists, like you should definitely start to consider what it is about yourself that makes you stand out, or what aspects of your look or your talent will draw people in or make you unique. But I don't think you should wham bam, thank you ma'am, try and package yourself up, because in a year you're going to be different.
Yeah, also like you've said, your look, your talent, and I think that's really important, is understanding yourself. Because I feel like a lot of people will be like, oh, that's the person I look up to, and then try and emulate their brand, which isn't authentic.
It's a very outdated teaching, I suppose, because even when I was studying in New Zealand, we were told similar things. It's find the person you look up to the most, or find the person doing the jobs you want to do and be them, which maybe in a talent way, maybe you want to train a similar journey to them, but you don't just become someone else. That's crazy. Like in what world? Because that person already exists. So then what we're going to do with two of you, you know what I mean? Unless you're a twin. So I think you can be inspired by that person, but I think to go and try and brand yourself off somebody that already exists is a big mistake, because not only are you not being true to yourself, but now other people are going to view you, and that connection is going to be quite clear, and then we're not actually going to see you at all. We're just going to see this other person reflected onto you, which isn't a successful way forward, I don't think.
Yeah, definitely not. So moving on to fourth and final look for today, what was that and what made you bring that?
Fourth and final look was full, wet, lubed, olive oil the house. Yeah, it was all leather, and the curls were wet, they're still wet, and I chose it honestly because it just felt fun. It's a good vibe. Again, it's an aesthetic that I really align with as an artist. A lot of musical artists that I'm inspired by have similar aesthetics, and so kind of taking bits and bobs that I've seen and then kind of translating them into a way that is still me, but also like is this elevated version. And so high contrast, super dramatic, very shiny. Very shiny's on brand. But it was great, super different in terms of the other three looks that we did, but also definitely something I align with, and that I think I would be happy to put forward for, again, whatever came up.
So what does the future hold for you?
I think I am most looking forward to continuing my creative work. So I think definitely in a choreographic sense, I'd love to start venturing into more conceptual videos. Again, it's something I've done before, but now that I'm in this stage of my journey, I think I have a strong vision and weak funds, and so I'm going to match them up and get these visions happening. But I'm really excited to be stepping into more movement direction, and then also still training as a dancer and still being in the whole juicy big circle that we call the industry, and doing all the whatever comes up. But I'm super happy with the trajectory that I'm currently on, and so I'm kind of excited just to see how it all unfolds this year.
If you were to sit down now and talk to your 15, 16-year-old self who's just starting professional dance, what would you say to her?
Go to class, go to technique, go to Skittles, go to jazz. I would say just kind of, I don't regret the journey I've had just because it's led me to this really unique situation. I think if I had had a more traditional form of training, I might not be where I am now. So I think it's more of a just head down, go to training, trust that things will happen the way they need to, pack your suitcase, get ready to move countries a few times, and then also just enjoy that whole process. I suppose younger dancers feel a lot of pressure to break into that industry. So I would definitely tell myself just to trust the timing and keep doing whatever it is I'm doing.
Boom. Thank you so much. It's been really fun.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this episode, please share it. If you want to see more of these, click subscribe. And if you've got any questions or anything you want to ask, just drop them in the comments below. See you in the next session.